Hello, sorry, I was waiting for the notification. I don't know what's going on with my phone, but I'm here. Were you talking about contacting the entities? That sounded pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was so a guy that just left was asking about how one communicates or how one connects or I think it was like what is the point of the planetary alignments when it comes to doing these rituals? And I was telling him that what you said last time where in order to get in contact with them, you have to get them at a specific planetary alignment.
No, that's absolutely true. And it's because it goes back to how the universe was created. Um, the whole point was for humanity when it actually arrived on the planet to be successful. And so, in order to ensure that there was enough of everything that we would need possible to be successful, they the creator put somebody in charge. He put a person, a point person. So much like how the government is supposed to work, because the government is based off of the celestial hierarchy. When you go to actually interact with the government, there's a receptionist, and then you tell them your problem, and the receptionist will tell you which office to go to. It works the exact same way. So when I started exploring the magic side of um, this type of information, I started with the moon. And there's a book by Franz Bardon called Initiation into Ceremonial Magic or something like that. And he has the whole list of all the different spirit intelligences for certain degrees. So what I did was, because the moon hits every single degree in the zodiac wheel every single month. And so what I was doing was waiting until certain entities were activated through the moon, I guess, like office building, right? And then making myself known to them. And so it's when you're dealing with because there's a hierarchy. So when you're dealing with like upper level, or I would say in the realm of creation, the angels and whatnot, they don't necessarily have a toll. Like, there's nothing that you pay to interact with them. They're just in general available to help. But when you're dealing with the intelligences that are on this realm, which is, I call it mirror world, or the lower realm, which is the realm of destruction, you have to kind of uh I was with the realm of destruction is for sure pay to play. But in this realm, it depends on what's going on the upper realm. So what the Babylonians did with all of this knowledge is they set up a toll booth to the entire system. So if you're trying to let's just say, for example, you're trying to figure out how to contact the entity that is day 4 of the lunar cycle, you may have extremely difficult time with that, because the Babylonians, in their extreme wickedness, confused all the cycles. And so when you start trying, and this is what I found. I mean, this I personally did like a lot of magic. That's probably, I wouldn't recommend it. Let's just say that. But I knew, because I can read energy. I could tell the energy that whatever it was that I was supposed to be contacting was not it, based on the words I was reading in the book, the time I was looking at. It wasn't, the stuff wasn't right. So the modern, like, astrology wheel that we have, that was brought to us by the Babylonians. And it's completely backwards, honestly. When I talk about the zodiac wheel, I put it in a clockwise. And right now, every astrologer on the planet that does tropical astrology, puts it in a counterclockwise motion. And so they're trying to figure out, why their timing tools don't work. And it's because they're looking at the clock in reverse. If you look at it in reverse, you're going to get reverse results. Same thing with the tarot spiral. I had to rectify that in order to make it so that you can time things. And so every tool that was put here for us to be successful has essentially it's backwards. Or it's either completely out of order or it's backwards. And so a lot of people are opening up these books like the Seals of Solomon or any grimoire you can name, because I've read quite a few of them. And the magic is not working because you don't know what day it is. you know what day they tell you it is, but you don't understand how to count the days. And I did a whole video on it says there's a scripture, I think it's Ephesians. It talks about um redeeming the time because the days are evil. And that scripture is just like totally gone over people's heads. And I think I did an hour and a half video on it because if you don't understand the time, your days are going to be wrong. Your planetary hours are going to be wrong. Everything is going to be wrong. So what happens in that case is you're trying to contact this certain entity that you know is at 29 degrees of Aries, which is just it's at 29 degrees of Aries. That's what the books say, but you don't understand what 29 degrees of Aries. What specific thing has to be at 29 degrees of Aries? Because the Babylonians, like I said, they literally took everything and put it out of order. So when they do magic, which they do a lot of magic, they created their own calendar, which is this Gregorian calendar, basically, and they bound the entities to their calendar. And so when they do the magic, it works because they know what day they put the entities at. Or at least it did work until it says in the Bible that there's going to be a new heavens and a new earth. And basically, that's what happened back in 2022. There was a once in a planetary alignment between Uranus, the North Node, and Mars. And this particular alignment has never happened before. And if you look at just the symbols, it literally looks like a new Earth rising from the depths, like because the North Node is a horseshoe. Um, it was the South Node, because the horseshoe facing up, so it looks like some rising from the depths. And oh wow, it was the South Node. So they're still doing their magic based on the calendar that they set, but that's not how time works anymore. First of all, one of the things that I discovered in my research with the Hebrew Israelites is that in the Keys of Enoch, not the Keys of Enoch, I'm sorry, one of the Testament of Enoch, one of the Enoch books, he tells them how you can observe the start of the new year. The Hebrew calendar, the way that certain individuals use it, it's not theirs because they don't actually do their calendar correctly. What you're supposed to do in order to know when the time starts is you can actually observe the sun move in the sky. I've done it 3 years in a row. You have to basically it's not really that hard. A lady had a little YouTube video about 10 minutes. One of the people I used to study with pointed it out, and I've been doing it. You can literally see the actual sun move in the sky. It literally does stuff that it never does because the sun is very constant. It just moves and it's constant. But on the day that it changes stations, because in the Hebrew calendar they have 3 30-day months and then 1 day out of time. And so that 1 day out of time is the day that the sun is called changing stations. And so you can literally observe that. So part of what the Babylonians did is they took that entire observation process from the knowledge of the quote unquote Hebrews. And so these Black Hebrew Israelites are just following what the other self-proclaimed people are doing, and their calendars are all wrong. So that's what I started with. I started by saying, when does the year start? How do we calculate this stuff? And we know that Aries starts the whole cycle. But when is that? Because again, the Babylonian astrology starts with 0 degrees, but zero's not a real number. It's a placeholder, and that's a bunch of other research I did. It's not a real number. It's a placeholder. It was phi, and phi is a zero with a one through the middle. So really, it's um phi two. What is phi two? 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 5, because there's no zero, and the 5, it encompasses the 1 and the 2. So and it is a placeholder. So if you look at any modern astrology, they do one of two things. They have zero, which is a number, or what they typically do is like for the Kosminski symbol, the Sabian symbols, it goes 1 through 30. And so I spent a whole year trying to figure out what 30 degrees is. Like, I had something that said 0 degrees in my chart. I couldn't figure out what it was. I'm like, I mean, it makes a difference. You got to know what energy it is, especially when it's assigned to you. You want to know what that thing is. And so, long story short, the conclusion that I came to after doing some self reflection, because you have to find all of this stuff within yourself. After I did some self reflection, I realized that 0 is 30 degrees of the previous sign. So basically, when a planet ingresses into a sign, it's still not really out of the other sign. It's like a transfer. Like, if you work at a job and you're the day manager and the night manager comes in, you guys are scheduled like to overlap a little bit. The day person is not going to leave as soon as they see the night manager walk in the door. It doesn't. You have to like exchange some information about how the morning went, the numbers, the money, whatever, supplies, and all of that stuff. So that's exactly how the astrology works. It's when you ingress into the new sign, you got to get a debrief from the previous sign, and that's what 0 degrees is. It's a ingress into the new sign, which means it's no longer in the old sign, but it doesn't have its own separate number because it's the placeholder for when the one comes in. So when I start the astrological year now, I start the year when the sun hits 1 degrees of Aries, not when it hits 0 degrees. Same thing with the solstices and the equinoxes. It's not when it hits 0 degrees, it's when it hits 1 degree. And so it doesn't seem like, a huge significant difference to you, but the Babylonians and the way that they do their magic, it has to be precise because their god is an asshole. And so if it's at all wrong and they can't justify why they're doing what they're doing, that guy's going to kill them 100%. And so it's really, really like critical that they get these things right. So these high magic societies that do all of this kind of stuff on a regular basis, these are the kind of secrets that they know that they don't tell the general public. And the way that the general public has access to it is if they actually try to work with the energy themselves. But of course, they've scared everybody to pieces with all of this stuff. Anyone who tries to work with it, since they give all wrong information, they're pretty much going to fail. So I got into many arguments with magicians who tell me that Thursday is Jupiter Day. And I'm like, no, it's not. It depends on what day the year starts. So, like, for example, back to the Hebrews, the way that if you observe the sun changing station, that is the last day of the year. Okay. The next day is the new year. And then from there, you calculate all your feast days. The most important feast day is the Day of Atonement. That's the day that is assigned for the creator to come down from his secret place and dwell with you in your house. That's the most important feast day of the whole entire year. And so if you listen to those people who claim to be the people, they celebrate that particular Day of Atonement, it's all wrong. They celebrate their Feast of Booths and all. They're all. The days are all wrong. And so imagine if you have a set appointment with the guy, the big guy upstairs that created you, and you miss it. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 20 years, 100 years, 200 years, three, four, 500 years, because you don't know how to start the day. Either that guy's going to think that you just, you quit on him, or maybe that there's something else wrong. So the reason why they do that is so that they can get it. They know the correct days. If I told you what was in those teraphims, you would lose your shit. But they know the correct days, and so they actually have the public doing all of this whatever stuff, but the rabbis know the right day. And so on when those days come, they're in position. Now, this is my personal what I seen spiritually, so I can't attest to the actual validity of this, but from my understanding, they got pictures of certain individuals, pieces of hair, toenails, all kinds of stuff on their personal altars at home. And so when certain important days come up, they literally get into the energy of these certain people and pretend to be people that they're not, so that they can get the blessings that are being doled out to that person. So that's why all of this matters, because you as a human have inherent blessings assigned to you. There's things assigned to you that you're supposed to get. And if you aren't protecting your energy in the right way, number one, or if you miss all of if you don't know that these things are assigned to you, someone can easily steal them. And that's why I use the birth chart to confirm what energy is assigned to the person. Then you can see what blessings you need to make that happen, and those things will come. It's naturally supposed to come based on the chart, but in extreme cases, like I'm always an extreme case, you can go back to those planetary energies and say, hey, I was supposed to get this and I didn't get that. Hey, this was supposed to happen and I noticed it didn't happen. We did that with following the lunar cycles. And so I personally um keep a notebook of what energies come in for every new moon and full moon, so that I can see how that energy is supposed to be interacting with my natural energy, and what I should be receiving to get done whatever it is that comes along with that energy. Because the whole point is, again, it's a co-creative process. We're supposed to be working with these entities and these energies to try to actually complete our mission on Earth. So I went back and looked over like a whole year of notes I had done. Every new moon, every full moon, I observed it. I had a whole little look back over my year, and I noticed that I got everything on that list except anything having to do with money. Like if it even remotely related to money, I never received it. And so because I know how their magic works, because I studied it and was like, oh, they're just lying to people. Like they're just lying. I went back to the entities, and I usually do it through my dream state. And I was like, excuse me, I was supposed to get this. I need to talk to, whoever's in charge here. I need to speak to your manager because I didn't get this. This didn't happen. That didn't happen. And it's in the process of being resolved, but it's only because I had to, since I asked the questions, because this is the problem. When you ask the questions, you're going to get the answers. So if you ask complicated questions like, why are these people in my energy pretending to be me and planting these crazy entities in my subconscious and trying to literally steal my blessings? That's a very complicated question. So it's taken all this time to unearth the entirety of the scam. But again, when you ask the questions, you get the answer. That's why they don't want people to ask questions. That's why whenever anybody tries to do anything that's slightly out of the ordinary for what they have everyone else doing, they ostracize that person and they send extra difficult attacks to that person because they want everybody in line. As long as everyone's in line, they can continue to siphon and harvest the blessings that you're supposed to get, and that's exactly what's happening. So I do. People should try to get. I would say I don't recommend trying to get into contact with these entities unless you have a pure heart, and then you want to really make sure that you have a method of protecting yourself, and you ask your spirit team what that would be. I've there's lots of me personally, for spiritual protection, there's nothing like the Hindu pantheon. They are the ultimate protectors. So I go into the Hindu pantheon when I'm looking for protection. That could be a mantra or I can't remember what they call them, but a mantra or a particular god or god, Devi or Deva. They have weapons, certain specific weapons that do specific things. You can get, charms and stuff like that. There's all different kind of things that you do, but you have to do your own investigation into what resonates with you, because there's a lot of people out here who know all of this stuff and deliberately mislead people. Like, again, I was studying with a group of people who um kind of like one of the last straw things was, because this guy was a self-proclaimed Levite. He had these guys working with him that he called the masters, and so his following on YouTube is, I don't know, he's got like 10,000 subscribers. That's not like a super huge following. But there was a lot of older people, especially older women, and so what he was doing was shaking them down. It was a shakedown. He had told these people that if they wanted to get a particular sigil that you could literally buy on Etsy for like $10, it was going to cost them like $400, because the people were going to take it to Haiti and they were going to consecrate it for you and then send it back to you. And I don't recommend that, just in general. Especially if the person won't tell you who they're dealing with. That's why I'm always very specific about who I'm talking. I did work with the creator. I don't know who the rest of these people work with. I'm very specific. But when people aren't specific about what God they work with, 9 times out of 10, it's not one of the good ones. It's one of the bad ones. And that was for a Pinnacle. He was trying to charge them $1,000 for a staff. Now I can go right here to my local um forest where they have a park ranger booth and buy a staff for $13. He was trying to charge them $1,000, and I was like, "This is ridiculous." He was just literally, and these, like I said, mostly older Black women. He was shaking them down, and he's not the only one, because I've seen a lot of people. They all run a similar mo. They get older Black women who don't have as much confidence in themselves, because they grew up in a day and age where women weren't allowed to express any of their magical capabilities, and basically fleece the flock. Now, there were also agents involved, because that goes into the Melchizedek priesthood, which that probably need to be its own discussion on its own. But so there were agents involved, government agents. But the worst part was the fact that they're preying on older people. So we think the scams on older people are just, the regular, Indian phone scams. No, there's also very, very high level spiritual scams being run on older people to take their money.
Wow. So when people say like, so most people's like astrological knowledge is in many ways like bullshit.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh
100%.
my God.
1000%. Yeah, and I talk to
So
again,
even
I
if it's
talk to
like
people.
Vedic, tropical, like all of these are just they're just not it.
I don't get into Vedic myself because it is from the past. I find that if you have to
Mm,
deal with past life issues, you can go to the Vedic because it's the real time sky. And we're moving forward. So the tropical is based on the seasons, and the Vedic is based on the real time. They don't go together. They don't match. So the Vedic is about 12, I think, maybe between 12 and 15 degrees behind the tropical. So for example, if you're an Aries rising in tropical, 9 times out of 10 in sidereal or Vedic, you're a Pisces rising. And again, it's not all BS, because what happens is a lot of people are channeling information. And so when you channel information, you'll get the correct information. So what's happening is people are saying the wrong terminology out of their mouth, but the advice they're giving is accurate because they're channeling it. So that's even more confusion. It's very, very confusing in these spiritual streets,
Okay,
especially
interesting.
tarot readers.
And so what's okay, so with the astrology, um, like people relate so much to their astrological sign, to their readings. Like, what is that about?
I mean, the information we the information is correct. We are beings that's our timer. That's our galactic timer. Okay, so um 9 times out of 10, whatever your if you pull your chart, um it's not that the chart, well, the chart is wrong, but it's not entirely wrong. It's just that you have to look and see where these things are in your life. And if you can't find it, then you have to think maybe you got something wrong. Because another thing is, a lot of people's birth times is not correct. A lot you have That's the first thing you have to check, is make sure that you have a correct birth time. Because even if the the doctors, I don't know when they started doing this exactly, but they don't actually mark the time properly. So like when my kids were born, I was looking at the clock when I on while I was on the table. I was looking at the clock, and I remembered,
Mm.
oh, they were born at this time, they were born at this time. So I told the doctors what time to put on that birth certificate. But everybody is not as detailed as me. I didn't even know anything about astrology when I was doing that. I knew I wanted the correct time. And so sometimes the timing is, it depends on, when you were born and how, specific, um, if the time is correct. So that's one, because you have there's guardian angels assigned to every 20-minute block of time. And so if it's about in the same 20 minutes, you'll probably have the same guardian angel, but you might not. So we started with the guardian angels and getting that down pat, and really figuring out like how, and they're not your guardian angels, they're the guardian angel of that time period. And you have access to them because you were born during that time period. So that was like way back. That's what we did. But so the astrology is accurate because it's a reading of the sky. The part that is more difficult is to figure out if the person is channeling the information or if they're reading the information from the chart. Again, most astrologers are channeling. And channeling comes in multiple ways. It's not just, the eyes closed and, speaking light language. It's literally like inspired ideas. So things to say that you don't know why they're saying, why you're saying them. So a lot of people who do, a lot of these astrologers, especially online, are actually channeling, which makes the information accurate. You just have to, so like me, when I listen to astrology, I know when they say certain things, I just got to throw it out the window. Whenever they say, oh, the tarot card is associated with this, they're all wrong. So I throw all that out the window. Or I reapply it in my mind. I know it actually is supposed to go for my cosmology. And sometimes you find people who actually hold that say the same uh timing capabilities or standard as you. Like everybody is not on the same time. That's another thing. That's why it makes this stuff even more confusing, is because um I happen to be have a background in Hebrewism, so that particular way of counting the days is accurate for me, but it might not be accurate for everybody. Because prior to um Jesus in the Bible, there was no way to convert into being a Hebrew. You were either born a Hebrew or you weren't. There was no conversion. There was one conversion that was so spectacular, they put the whole story of it in the Bible, and that's Ruth, who married a Hebrew while in I think they were in I don't think they were in Babylon. I think they were in Canaan. But she married a Hebrew, and then her husband died along with her mother-in-law's husband, and the brother of the other there, and the husband's brother also died. So there was the other woman who was married to the other husband. All the men died. And so when Naomi told the women, okay, I don't have any more sons. Y'all go back to your mother's house. Literally is what it is, she said. In the Hebrew, go back to your mother's house and, try to find you another husband. And Ruth was like, wherever you go, I'm going. And whoever your God is my God, which was unheard. They didn't even have a way to do that. So when Ruth came to town, to Bethlehem with Naomi, they literally didn't have a way of handling her because there was no conversion. You either was born with it or you weren't. So when Jesus came, that's why his whole ministry is talking about everybody has access, opening up the doors. Everybody is welcome inside of this family, because the Hebrews it was a closed system. So it doesn't, everybody can't read that particular energy properly. It works for everybody. That's why Ruth was able to use it, but it might not resonate depending on where you're from, because some people are more celestial in nature. There's a different clock for like celestial timekeeping as opposed to earth timekeeping. I'm an earth timekeeper, so I'm looking at what's going on the earth. There's a lot of people who are celestial. Like I have a friend who does light language. It's fantastic for trying to remove blockages that are extremely intense, that you're not really sure where they come from. Sometimes the stuff comes from outside of your realm, outside of this realm, because these quote unquote Babylonian entities, remember, they were working with Enlil and Enki and Anunnaki and all of that. So that's where the introduction of the celestial realm, like these different planetary entities, comes into the story, is through the Babylonians. They was working with the Anunnaki. So some people are from that particular bloodline, and so that means that it could be potentially easier for them to work within that system than it would to work within an earth-based system. But everyone has the opportunity to work with the earth-based system if you're a human. It's just that, do people want to be humans? It's a lot of propaganda out here, surely by these Babylonians, that don't want people to be humans. Because if you give up your humanity, they put it on like a meat suit. They send one of their demons in, one of their folks, to jump into that person who doesn't want to be a human anymore, and take over their whole life. That's what all of the UFO encounters and possessions and all that stuff was. These people didn't feel connected with the earth, because they technically weren't from here, and their desire to leave here was so great that they literally did leave. But what happens is, when you leave your body, if you don't give up your spirit but you just leave your body, that means the body is wide open and somebody jumps in. There's no bodies running around like that are viable. There's no viable bodies that are left empty. These people jump in. because it's the only way they can experience humanity because they're afraid to be born. Oh, I should mention that a lot of these gods and goddesses and all these different entities, they can jump in line, the earth line, and be born the way that everyone else is born. They're afraid, they're cowards. They're literally afraid to be born because when you're born, you don't know what kind of family you're going to be born into. Exactly. You don't know what is going to happen to you. Lots of bad things happen to humans all the time. And it's like fear. So it's very if you're here on this planet at this time, you literally knew the risk of being born and you still did it. These people are afraid. This is why I don't, I talk about the guys and the goddesses and all of that, and I appreciate them for what they do, but at the same time, be born. At least the Hindu gods and goddesses, they always reincarnating. These Hebrew ones, the Babylonian ones, the Anunnaki and all of them, they're not risking coming through the portal, being born to, a 14-year-old virgin in Nazareth. It's too risky. It's too risky. So they're very like they're cowards, in my opinion. They're cowards.
And so, okay, so you're talking in terms of the people that are the cowards. These are the humans, or
No, no, the gods, the goddesses, the entities,
so
all of
how are
these
they able to
entities.
die? I guess like what does that mean? What is it for them? What does it mean to die or to be reborn?
Well, they're not dead. They're outside of they're on the outside of space and time. The space,
Okay.
okay, so okay, this goes into cosmic hierarchy. The space and time applies to them, but because they're not a living entity, it doesn't work this. It's not based on Earth time. It's based, they have a different timing system. So for example, when you're dealing with Jupiter energy, Jupiter makes one whole cycle around itself in 10 hours. So one Earth day is one day on Jupiter is 10 hours on Earth. And then Jupiter stays in a sign for a year. So it goes through the whole zodiac in 12 years. And so one Jupiter year is one Earth no, one Jupiter year is 12 Earth years. So the
Okay.
timing is not the same. So like for example, Mercury is kind of almost the same as Earth time. Jupiter, okay, so or like Saturn. Saturn takes 30 years. Everybody knows what a Saturn return is. Saturn takes 30 years to circle around the zodiac. So one Saturn year is 30 Earth years.
Wow.
So their time is just different. Because whatever planet they're assigned to, again, back to the beginning, they're all assigned to a planet. They all have a planetary energy that they're assigned to. Whatever planetary energy they're assigned to tells you how fast they can work. So, for example, with the guardian angels I was talking about, they are assigned to Jupiter. So for example, people are like, oh, I don't bother my guardian angel. I'm calling them all the time. It's like, no, you don't understand. 10 hours on their planet is one day here. So it does, you can call them as much as you want. They're not even, I mean, it's a lot of stuff going on. Their time is really, really fast. Jupiter spins really, really fast. So it's literally crazy. And I had to learn all these conversions. This is not in a book. There's nobody teaches this. Like I just was like, okay, so if I'm trying to call on an entity, I gotta know what time it is for them because you don't want to be somebody supposed to be sleeping or resting or it's their day off. You don't want to be, again, I'm very respectful. I'm probably a little too respectful, but I don't
Mm.
want to be messing with people in a time that is not supposed, they're not on duty. Like if I get off a job, I want people to leave me alone when I'm off. So I was doing the conversions of what time it would be here, what time it would be there. And that's when I realized, oh, their time is actually just different. So that's how they can get their stuff done because you got to think it's, at least 300 billion people on this planet and the guardian angels are assigned to a 20-minute slot, but the 20-minute slot it circles around the planet. It's not the same 20 minutes in Eastern as it is in Pacific, as it is anywhere else. So they have to be able to move really fast. So that's why they're assigned to Jupiter. Like you have to really break each thing down in order to understand what's going on. That took me like a whole year to really figure out what the planets and all of that, because it's very, very confusing. And then you have places like Uranus, they spin on a different axis. Like everybody's tilt, all the tilts and stuff make it different, because Earth is at a 33-degree tilt, but all the planets are not at the same tilt. So that also makes a difference in certain things. Again, not according to the magic that I use, but according to these Babylonians. All those little, they seem minute differences, but it really adds up when you're trying to, contact this specific entity who will only answer you because you're wicked at a certain date and time. If you're a righteous person, none of this stuff matters. It's only the wicked people who are literally evil that this stuff matters, because they don't want to deal with them. I started saying
The
that like
spirits don't want to deal
2022.
with them.
The negative ones,
Mm,
even the demons don't want to deal with these people because they're breaking the rules. There's a hierarchy, there's rules, there's order. They are breaking it is not legal in the physical realm or any other realm for you to clone yourself in my energy, pretend to be me, and go collect my paper.
yeah, it's
Where's
wild.
that allowed?
That's crazy.
No,
But
that's
but
not
but
allowed. Nobody can do that.
so these spirits, but they still give them the time. How does that work? I mean, so it seems like the
They don't have a
spirits.
choice. They bound them. They bound them. They're bound to the time.
So how do
So
you free
because they're
them?
bound.
Oh, by the
Well,
time.
that's what we did. Yeah, that's what we did. We freed the spirits. That was my
And
whole
that
ritual.
was
I
22.
figured out in 23. I
Ah.
figured out how they bound them. They bound them with a contract. And that's what we did. We freed this. See, now you see how the whole
So
storyline, but it
what
doesn't make
contract?
sense.
Which like is this one of the
That was the dumb diverses. That was the dumb
really?
diverses.
That was
That's
the
the one.
one.
Yeah.
And why that
Hmm.
one?
Because the Pope made himself the vicar of Christ. Okay, so let me. All right. The Pope made himself
So
Christ
you're the
on
one that
earth.
messed the whole thing up.
Yes.
Oh, this
Yes,
is
me and my group of a few people
wow.
fasting and praying messed their whole system up. Now the system was already falling apart. Their time was
Yeah,
up
you
because
just
there's
tipped the
another
domino.
cycle. Absolutely we accelerated it. So
Mm.
because what happened was, this is another story, but what happened was I was watching a YouTuber and he had on a guy from Jamaica who does astral traveling, astral projection. And in the video, in the show that he was on, he was saying that one of the archangels had come back from 2100 to the present day, which I believe was in 2022. It was in September 2022. I know when that I saw the video, but I don't remember when he said the angel came back. I think it was like in 2021 or something. But he said the archangel had came back and told him that they had to send a shema. And like a shema is it's a sigil, right? And he had this sigil, which is a Zion. It's Zion, but it's like it's flat. So it's kind of hard to explain, but it's Zion. It says Zion, but it's flat. And so and it has a lot of information coded into it. And so when I watched this video, I was like, I gotta make that sigil because I'm doing like lots of crazy magic, and drawing sigils is one of them. So I made the sigil and I would just meditate on it and look at it and try to figure out what's going on. That's when I found the whole tarot spiral, and I started to rectify it because I was like, no, it's out of order. Somebody sent me a video explaining how to put it in order the right way, and I made a few more changes. And then after that, we were getting really close to figuring out that something else was going on, i.e., with these Babylonians and their magic and stuff. And then I reached out to a young lady who I thought I was in good graces with on YouTube, and she cussed me out. And I was like, whoa, 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 hold up, pause the play. I just talked to this girl a few weeks ago. Everything was straight. Now I sent her an email like, let's have a conversation because I think we're on the same page, and she cussed me out. So one of my friends, one of the older ladies I communicate with, we were like, okay, why would she do that? What happened? And literally, because she's like a seer, she was like, what about the Willie Lynch letter? And at the time, because during Sagittarius season, which nobody really knows this is when they try to make people fight. Sagittarius season is like Christmas. And so and I mean, I have a Sagittarius full moon too, but the new moon is Christmas. So they always try to make people, especially black people, fight with each other over that time period because that's a time when you can basically reap a lot of blessings. But if you're fighting and arguing, you can't get because you got to be in a certain frequency. So that's when I found out that they were in Haiti harvesting our energy. Because remember, I told you the guy was trying to sell these old people this stuff, charge them hundreds of dollars for stuff that was $10. I found out that they were harvesting our energy, and we closed the temple. We told them we're the inheritors of the temple, and you're not. And we closed the temple. And then right after that, we canceled the Willie Lynch letter. Then we canceled a few other things, and then we figured out overall it was this dumb diverses, and that's when all the other stuff happened that I already talked about. So it was a process, but it started with this once in a planetary conjunction between Uranus, the South Node, and Mars. That was a clear sign to them that a new heaven and a new earth was coming, and that there was nothing that they could do because of the imagery. And
Oh
basically
wow.
from that point they have not been able to catch up since then, because right after that planetary conjunction happened, which was on August the 1st of 2022, the queen died on September the 9th, 2022, while we were fasting. It was the last day of our fast. I called the fast. The YouTube guy like
That's
stole it,
crazy.
and she was gone by the time from that planetary conjunction. 40 days later, she was gone. They haven't been able to catch their breath
So
since then.
so this guy that was copying your fast, was he trying to like co-opt what you were doing?
Of course, because it's a man.
And obviously he didn't. Obviously he failed.
Yeah, he failed. 100% total complete failure.
Wow.
But see, it looks to them like they won because I'm still broke. I don't have, as many followers. People don't watch my videos and all of this stuff, but they don't understand. I don't care about none of that stuff. That's not. I didn't ask for that.
Yeah, right.
Well, you gotta I didn't ask for that. I'm asking for some
Yeah,
very
you
specific
got
things.
bigger fish to fry.
Exactly. Like I ain't worried about that. I'm trying to figure out
And
how.
you'll get your physical blessings when the time is right.
Yeah, I don't care about. I want people to not have to go through what I went through when they
Mhm.
wake up spiritually, because it's not just me who has whatever special gifts. Everybody has something. Like it's a
Yeah.
parable of the talents. Everybody has something. The problem is some people have more. Me, because of where I'm from and my bloodline and all of that, I have more stuff, but that doesn't mean other people don't have something that's important. And so just because you may not think it's important at all, I thought I was just reading some cards and looking at the astrology. I said, how important could this be? And it turned out that it was the most important thing, because humanity is run by a timekeeper who has to keep the time, and nobody had been doing it. It had been a vacant position. This goes into the paperwork, because
Wow.
it was nobody could do it. Everybody was lying about what they were
So
doing.
you're the timekeeper on Earth.
One of them, I guess. I mean, I don't see
I mean,
anybody else.
definitely clearly the one that knows what's going on now. I'm sure
Yeah,
obviously there were
nobody.
timekeepers with the Babylons, but
I can't find a
they
single
seem to be
person
out of
who knows
commission
what I'm
now.
talking about. Like I make videos like every day now because there's a galactic portal open. This is with the Mayan calendar, and I'm not having explained any of it to any. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. I just got a comment on one of my videos, and the lady was like, I really don't know what you're talking about, but I can kind of see it. I'm like, that's crazy. I did not give no clarification, no introduction. I just start talking. I say there's a mantra that goes with it. to get people in alignment, and that's all I did. I don't know. It's 1 minute, one literal 1 minute video with no explanation, no introduction, no nothing. And somebody said that. I was like, okay, that means she must be one of these people that's in the alignment with the earth energy. That's great. I know there's other people out there that can do this. Everybody can do this. You're supposed to be your own spiritual guru. And what
Yep.
I'm doing by documenting each step of how to do all this stuff is well documented on my channel, and it's free. I don't care. I want other people to do the
On
stuff.
YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube. It's all
Hmm.
there. Like hundreds of videos talking about different stuff, all kinds of stuff. I do a lot of research and I make video about it, and that way, it's just like these watchers, these so-called watchers, because this is who I'm up against. There's a group of Christians, they call themselves watchers, and they have a timeline, and their timeline is BS. It's accurate for some things as far as the events in the order of the events occurring, but they don't know when the timeline starts. Everybody who does that kind of stuff has decided that the day of equal parts starts the days, even though in Enoch's book it says observe the sun. They still say no, no, no. It's when we have 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night that starts the cycle, and that's nowhere because Jesus made one off comment and said, "Are there not 12 hours in a day?" That's literally they're basing their whole timeline off one sentence that can be corroborated anywhere else. Me, I mean, all the time I have multiple levels of corroboration because I'm not commanding the energy. I'm just reading the energy. I'm saying, oh, it's here, it's there, it's everywhere. That's crazy. Will anybody believe me if I say it? And most of the time, people they once I tell them about themselves, then yeah, they believe it. But until I tell them about themselves, they're like, "Oh, you that doesn't sound right. That's crazy." It's like, "Okay, yeah, what's your date of birth? This your goddess. You ever heard of this? You ever heard of that?" They be like, "Oh, how did you know that?" Like, I mean, I have it's just written down. I just read to you off a piece of paper, so it's not like I didn't make it up, you know. But it happens all the time because the energy doesn't lie. We are energetic beings, and we have to stop ignoring the energy that we have. We have been taught to suppress our energy, which is our emotions. And when you suppress your emotions, you lose contact with the energy. So one thing I just literally found out today is that men should be living more in their south node. That's the energy they're supposed to live in, and women should be living more in their north node. That would make women more soft and less aggressive. And if men lived in their south node, that would make them more masculine and less soft. So the guy Zeus, like I told y'all, he don't like women because he wants to be in the north node energy and live the soft life and not have to do a whole bunch of stuff. He doesn't want to be in the masculine energy because the masculine energy would require him to go out and basically it's the men that are supposed to be interacting with these demonic entities, not the women. And so if a woman doesn't
Mm.
have a male counterpart, a friend, somebody to intercede for them in the realm of reflection, which is this mirror world, then the woman has to go and fight the demon or interact with the demon. And that's why you have all these
Right,
succubus
right.
women and all of this stuff because they don't have a man to, you know, to interact with them. Dang, that
Mhm.
was weird. So it's very it all goes together, but it takes like a little while to really wrap your mind around it and why it's happening.
Yo, can I confirm what Chief Sophia said?
Please.
This shit's insane. And when you started openly talking about Zeus, I made that fucking connection. Like you actually closed a loop of mine. Uh I had no idea this even happened to me. But Zeus, uh he tried to initiate me at 13 years old. He infiltrated my fucking dreams, teleported me to his realm. He tried to offer like this fucking kind of like sacred knowledge. I didn't know what the fuck was happening at that time, but my fucking spirit protected me at 13 years old. And when you called Zeus out and how he's abusing his powers, you literally fucking you confirmed it to me unknowingly. Like you're spewing, like not spewing in a negative sense, you're communicating high level information in my opinion, and it continues to confirm what I've been experiencing all along. I just didn't know what was happening even deeper below the surface. And another video that you posted the other day, right? I actually been going back and watching all your videos too. uh your one recent video, right, where you ask, what does your creator, what does your God feel like?
Yes, yes. I know what you're
You
talking
want to
about.
know what's insane? Before, when I watched that video, and then when I went to bed, I was saying to myself in my head while I was falling asleep, uh, God, what do you feel like? I literally asked that question you said. And the very next day, this is gonna sound so wild. God actually fucking showed himself to me in my brand new artwork. And I'm not trying to make this about myself or show myself. I'm literally documenting your own experiences because it's happening to me. But when I asked that question, and I had that artwork pinned to my profile in particular just to use as a reference, uh, I created that artwork outside in the rain. I fully surrendered myself in
Wow.
that moment, and I literally sat in downpour for 30 fucking minutes while the rain bombarded my specific piece of art. And in that moment, I actually broke my own behavioral pattern and loop because every time I created outside, anytime it began to rain, I immediately went back inside. And that time in particular, I said, fuck it, I'm not going back inside. The rain can bombard my art all it wants. I fucking fully accept that. So when I had the rain bombard my art for about 30 minutes, and then when I went inside to take a picture of my art with all the fucking water covering my piece of art, it occurred in my mind, you know what? This never happened. I've never done this before. I recognize myself. This is a brand new output that I just did unknowingly. So I took a picture of my art with all the rain fucking covering it. And literally, a golden bronze face appeared within my fucking art. The craziest thing is, that golden plated bronze face or whatever that looks like fucking liquid gold, uh that shit disappeared fucking 5 minutes later. That's why you talk about like this brief window of time and opportunity, because if I didn't have the awareness to even do all that, I would have never caught that fucking I would have never caught that face that appeared within my artwork. And that particular face is so fucking powerful. And in my opinion, God actually showed up in my fucking art. And that's why I don't have to prove shit to any of these parasitic motherfuckers that continue to launch unseen attacks at me all the fucking time. Because I know I am protected now, and this shit keeps confirming it. Alright, I just wanted to say all that. So just thank you.
That's amazing. Like, I love that you could see it, because again, a lot of people won't allow themselves to feel the emotion. You have to feel the emotion, and when you feel it, you can't ignore it. Like, it's the stuff is so clear it can't be ignored, but most people just don't give themselves the opportunity to feel, because that's the number one. The emotion is what is actually going to get you the scenario. Like, they try to tell people, oh well, you should just be grateful for this and grateful for that, and I'm like, no, I'm not just grateful for this and, oh, I got a house to live in, that's okay. No, 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 I'm not grateful for that. I'm supposed to have a house to live in. Where's the house I asked for? Like, you have to be able to feel the emotion, and most people, they don't want to feel the emotion. They don't want to go through this whole, because it is very emotional. Like, if I didn't have someone to constantly talk to, like, about this kind of stuff, I would just, it makes you feel crazy, but eventually you get used to being confirmed. And the thing is, the answers are supposed to come before you ask. So imagine you had this artwork, you were sitting outside, you asked the question, where did rain come from in the first place? The answer was already there before you asked the question. It was already going to rain. The answer was already there when you ask. And that's how the relationship with whatever God it is, that's how it's supposed to work. And most people, they never get to experience that because they won't feel the emotion of asking the questions. It's very scary to ask questions. Like I said, these entities are cowards because they don't want to come through the portal. It's also very scary to ask questions that you don't know who you're asking them to. And then what if you get answers? People are not prepared for that. Like I started with pendulums after I was doing the tarot cards, and I started using a pendulum, and then I got a custom designed pendulum that's just I don't even know where I don't even know where this stuff comes from, but I'm always leaning into the unknown. And because Uranus is going into Gemini, that is going to be important to lean into the unknown and to communicate. If you ask, God will show up. And you know that for once you know for yourself, it doesn't matter. Everything else is irrelevant. They lost. And that's what we want. We want more people to just ask for themselves. So that's great. I'm really happy that um, you got an answer so fast. Now, mind you, we had to ask for 6 months, 8 months before we even got like an understanding that the question had been answered. It took literally 8 months of us asking every single day, what does the creator feel like? What does his love feel like? We don't know what it is. We can't see it. 8 months went by and it was basically like nothing. And sometime around the ninth month, it was like, oh, that was that. Is that what that is? Oh, we didn't know. Like literally, because we didn't have a frame of reference for that. So because I talk about it, people can get a frame of reference for it. It won't take you 8 months to figure it out like it took us. You figured it out right away. That's amazing. That's what I want. I want to help people get over that hurdle because it is a very difficult hurdle to get over.
Yeah, yo, there is so much happening inside my being, particularly over the last year. So last July, I actually had my second awakening, and it was way more intense than my first one because during my second one, I actually broke down and cried when my soul finally acknowledged that I acknowledged my higher self. And all what happened in that moment last July, I fucking literally hugged myself and said to my fucking spirit, I'm sorry for ignoring you. I'm sorry for neglecting you because people have been trying to take advantage of my energy my entire life. And it's so fucking wild. Uh, I'll bring up my first awakening too, because this shit is way deeper than anybody even realizes. And that shit impacted me on such a profound level that I could never be the same again. So back in so this was December 25th, 2022, when I was living in Los Angeles at the time, okay? And I went over to who is now my ex girlfriend's apartment to stay the night over there. The morning of Christmas, she fell down her entire flight of stairs and her head hit the fucking pavement. I was so this is gonna sound crazy. I wasn't actually even afraid of that moment. That was the calmest I've ever been in my entire life because I knew there was no time to panic. There was no time to think. You just fucking do. And the craziest part is I replay this shit over and over and over again in my head when right before she went to go outside and sit down on her porch, uh, she woke up before me. But when I woke up and she wasn't beside me, I walked at literally as soon as I got up and walked into her living room, she fell down her entire flight of stairs. And I'm like, damn, if I didn't walk into the living room at that particular time and that particular moment, I don't think I would have heard that she fell. And her steps is like, I want to say there's at least 12 to 15 steps, and she fell down her entire flight of fucking stairs. What happened in that moment to me? Because you don't have to physically die yourself. Uh, this is what maybe there's already a term for this, but she's alive, by the way. I'm just gonna throw that out there. She's alive. Uh,
Oh, yes.
yeah. She's alive. I forgot to bring up that detail. But like when I was holding her in my arms, obviously, when you see a person's body convulsing within your arms and she's kind of like salivating or foaming at the mouth, your first natural reaction or thought is, holy shit, she is dying in my arms. And then her fucking, she how do I say this? She had a very blank expression on her face, obviously, and it's like your brain equates that with death because you assume because they stopped moving and because their light went fucking completely blank for a brief period of time, my soul actually crushed itself into a million pieces and then was put back together uh almost simultaneously, but it's not that simple because it's taken me almost 3 years to now put my own pieces back together. uh that's why I'm calling this death by proximity, because I generally thought she died, and when I thought she died in that moment, the veil fully revealed itself to me. There was, it's like, it's actually like the past, present, and future materialized in the form of energy directly in my face. It fucking went and then it poofed within a fucking fraction of a second. And I'm like, damn, the universe actually just revealed to me the entire fucking truth, and now I need to figure out what's true or false. That is still one of the most wildest experiences I've ever had because I'm still making the connection. And now I am not afraid to say this openly. I genuinely believe I come a, I come from a family lineage of angels. I do think I'm a protector and I do think I'm an angel because I help people without looking for anything. Like, I'm a very fucking kind person, but with that, it comes with people trying to take advantage of you all the time and then trying to make it, they love to blame you. And I just had enough of all of that because I know who I am as a person. I know who you guys have tried to like abuse your entire life, and now they use my own family to attack my mother spiritually because my own family is spiritually lashing out at my mother because my mother refuses to fucking help them anymore because they don't appreciate anything that she has done for them, and they always make her feel extremely guilty. And I'm just putting an end to that kind of fucking loop right then and there. Because when you attack a fucking angel, you will reap the consequences beyond this life. That is a fucking fact. that shit, and I don't have to retaliate. I don't have to stoop to their level at all. I know that shit would be handled. And anytime these kind of evil entities attack pure fucking hearted souls, best believe God sees all of that shit.
I could tell you were galactic. Have you ever thought about doing light language? Because that might also help bring in more specific guides. I have, like I said, I have a friend that does that. She does like one-on-one sessions. I can give you her information. I've done several sessions and it helped me personally to because I'm an earth being, right? So you would think, okay, well, how is a galactic being going to help an earth being? But that's how I was able to make a lot of connections because I could I guess I got downloaded. She works with a bunch of different she speaks more than one light language. Let me just say that. I got a lot of information on or activations on how to best protect myself and what things that I was needing to protect myself, because part of the problem when you are a good person, you really don't know that people are trying. First of all, you don't even think, why would anybody be trying to hurt me? Because it doesn't make any sense. And so the light language helps to further activate or the protections that you already have inside of you. So that's one suggestion I will make. The second is seeing the past, present, and future at the same time. That's what my other friend does, the older lady. She can observe the past, present, and future at the same time. She calls them visions. She don't really have a good name of what to call them. But if you had that ability in that moment, that means that is something that you can do. So once you feel comfortable, like you know who you're working with, then you can start saying, okay, how do I have access to that? How do I use that gift of seeing the past, present, and future at the same time? And they will help you. I can say with her, um, if she's in a high stress state, like she works a regular job and it's really stressful, she doesn't have the visions as much. And a lot of them are celestially timed. So when the energy is really intense, she has more visions. When it's less intense, she has, it's not as many. So that's a whole gift in and of itself that could be very useful, especially for healing any past trauma. What I notice about galactic beings is that they have a lot of prior trauma because of what the Anunnaki was doing, experimenting on these other off planet entities. Because in my cosmology, the only place that has a physical incarnation is the earth realm. It doesn't mean that there's not entities on other realms, they're just not physical. That's why when you look at a picture of Mars, well, if they say it's Mars, it looks uninhabited, but that's not necessarily true. It's just that they don't have physical life on Mars like we do on Earth. Earth is the only, in my assessment, the only place in the universe that has physical life. And so whatever experimenting and stuff that the Anunnaki and Orions and all these people were doing, they use the non-physical beings to do their experiments to see if they would work on the physical beings on this planet. So I blame it on the Babylonians, right? But before the Babylonians got the information, the reason the Babylonians knew to try it was because the Anunnaki told them, oh, this worked on this group of people. This group worked on that group of people. Because like there's a process where you can it's almost like astral projection, but it's kind of like different, where you can go into all of these different realms and kind of see what's going on. It's a guy on YouTube that teaches that. I am an earth being, so I try not to get into all that galactic stuff because I don't think it's really for me personally. But that might also be something you look into, like astral projection and stuff like that, because uh once you get wings, like you have your sword is bigger. So your sword is always as big as your wings. Um, so like I have a big sword because I have big wings. I got one of the things I did with her. I could feel them. She was like, "You got wings." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I know I have a big sword because your sword is always as big as your wings. So that's another. But that means you have a responsibility to protect people. So you want to like balance it out. And the third thing is in relation to actually observing someone die. This also happened to me. My when we first moved down to Florida, my best friend, her son just turned 18 and he literally he died. He was in a pond and he had a seizure and he was in the hospital for like a week because they were trying to see if they could bring him back, and then I told her not to do the whole, organ donation thing, but she did it anyway. And so they were, keeping him alive, his body awake so that they could donate the organs and stuff like that. And I went through this process of seeing him leave. And the worst part of that is that I knew that was going to happen and I didn't tell her. And once he was gone, I was like, okay, I need to know where he is. So that was in 2021, in August of 2021. That's what started me down this path of trying to figure out, okay, where did he go? He was only 18. Where did he go? I want to know where he went. And so that was really how I got started. That was I wouldn't it wasn't my first awakening because I already was like awake and doing a lot of research, but that was the first physical experience I had where I knew he was gone somewhere because I heard he was going to be going. So I was like, okay, where did he go? What happened to him? I need to know exactly where he went, who he's with. I need to know because my friend, she's still torn up about it. It's really difficult, child, especially so young. And he just turned 18, literally like the day before. So I was like, no, I need to know where he went. And that's when I started looking for these answers. Had they, and it was a whole op. It was a whole operation. He was a sacrifice for another family member to get a few more years, which is a whole nother thing that I'm still debating on if I want to go through the whole story with her because she's still in the process of healing. But this is how wicked these people are. They just to get a few more years, they're like, yeah, go ahead and take that one. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes. Just give me some more time on this earth. So I had a similar experience. It was equally as horrible as what you're describing, except mine just made me angry because I wanted to know where was he, what was he doing, um, and what was the purpose of this, and so to kind of wrap that up, there's certain people because of their bloodline. There's like different we usually call them like generational curses, right? But I don't know if that's necessarily the best term because a lot of times what people do is they see that you're a pure vessel, and so instead of them handling their curses that they accumulated during life, they will put the curse on you, tell you it's a generational curse so that you can break it because you have the ability to break the curse. But these are the people, again, if they have your energy, they can transfer the curses to you. Which is why you have to be really, really serious about evolving. That's the best way to protect your energy. If they, like, for example, I can tell when these people are infiltrating my dreams because I've never had a dream of where I live right now. Never. They can barely get me a dream in this state at all my dreams happen up the road, and so I know that they really don't have a pin on me. They're really looking at older versions of me, and so um the more you evolve the quicker, but still maintain your you know ability, like to actually be a regular person, it makes it much harder for them to track you. And all of this stuff is going away. They're not going to be able to do this, but for so much longer. But at least for sure for the next year, we're waiting for certain things to be celestially permanent, like Saturn and Neptune are going to move into Aries together next year, and then in human design we go into a new cross of planning. It's called the cross of the sleeping phoenix. We go into that in 2027. So, and that's based on human design, another thing, but um it's that's just another like cycle. So there's cycles that are closing out right now, and as these cycles close out, if we have a high enough vibration as humanity, we're going to move on. And it's not that the people are going to just die off. They're just not going. It's like sometimes I go places and no one sees me, and I'm like, hello, anybody see me here? Nobody sees me. Or like I have a friend, she's like, I'm always looking for you in like the astral realms, but I can't see you. And it's like, yeah, of course. I'm protected. You can't see me. So that's what will happen. You'll be here, but you won't be able to be reached. And that's, I think that's how things are going to work out. So it's not that people are just going to like die by the millions. It's just you'll be here and you won't be here. They won't be able to see you, just like we can't see elves and fairies and gnomes and nymphs and all that stuff. They're here still for sure. But you can't see them. And so that's, I think that's how this thing is going to phase out until they're just gone, because the old earth has gone away, a new thing has been done, and they can't get on the right frequency to match that.
Can
um
can I share another thing that happened or is happening to me recently too? Uh, Particularly about the past, present, and future simultaneously. When I was over at my brother's house about about a week ago to just simply have dinner. This is so intense. I actually almost cried on the spot, but I had to just regain that composure because what happened to me too is this is gonna sound so strange, but I actually don't really care. Uh, the future once again when I sat at the table, it actually flashed before my eyes, and this is the strangest sensation. Not only it, so when the future flashes itself to me, it is literally like every single person around me disappears. And in that brief window, I'm like, where did everybody just fucking go? And then it's like they come back. And that sounds so weird to say and to articulate because it's like, yo, what these flashes in particular, it's like I'm flashed a ruined civilization. And I have no clue if that ruined civilization is one that I came from, or two, is it the ruined civilization of future Earth? So every time this shit flashes before me about witnessing like this ruined kind of civilization, it brings me tremendous amounts of pain because it's actually reminding me that everything and everything you love will be quote gone soon. And that shit is really heavy. It's like, damn, this shit really flashed an ancient ruined civilization in front of me, and it literally feels like everybody disappears within the same room we occupy. And it's like they disappear, but I know I'm still seeing them in front of me, obviously. It's like because my body is in the present moment, my spirit is in like the future moment. So I can see obviously people are still in my vicinity, but it's like they fucking disappear at the same time. And that is a brand new experience that's been happening to me recently, and it's very intense.
yeah, that sound like okay, let me put it this way. If something, let me just say this, earth is not going away. There's the reason why civilizations were quote unquote destroyed is because the creator told people, when you encounter a wicked civilization, you have to burn everything. Do not take any of their stuff. Literally burn everything to the ground. So most of the quote unquote destroyed civilizations are civilizations of people who were wicked. The righteous people don't have destroyed civilizations because we just generally move around. So what it sounds like to me is some of these entities want you to give up your body, and they will try extremely hard to make you give up your body. So you probably need more protection. That's long story short. You need some more protection, like, because they're not really going to stop because you gave them a reaction. So for example, I had a dream the other day, and I was at a party or something, because I do most of my work in the dream state. I was at a party at my grandmother's house, and it was all of my cousins, all of my family there, and these people are criminals. So they're like talking about all of their crimes and laughing and joking and whatever. And I'm just looking at them. I'm like, I don't have nothing to say. I don't have nothing to add to this. I don't even know why I'm here. So they literally sold me into slavery. Like, sold me into slavery. And so now I'm outside, and the slave job that I have is washing clothes. So I'm trying to wash clothes. They want us to pre-wash the clothes in the baskets or something. So I'm trying to fill the thing up with water, and apparently I wasn't moving fast enough, and somebody shot me. And I woke back up, and I said, okay, well, let me try this again. And I just went back, and I got the basket, and I just didn't put as much water in it that time. And then there was a basket that didn't have any water in it at all. So I took it and I went over to a puddle, and I started putting water in it from the puddle. And somebody who was in like one of my cousins' energy was like, we don't treat gay people clothes like this just because they're gay. And I was like, I had no response, meaning that dream was designed to trigger me. Like, with family, with slavery, with all this stuff, my home, I just didn't have a response. I was like, if y'all gonna have me out here washing clothes, being a slave, I'm gonna be the best slave that I can be. That was my decision. And so they're not gonna try that again because they can't get a response out of me. But if they can get a response out of you, they keep being more and more and more aggressive until you take yourself out. So you have to, I mean, it's probably in your chart that you probably have a particular placement. I have this placement in my chart, and they're always just trying to trigger me into doing something that sounds insane. It's like, I'm not doing that. Are you guys crazy? So I your the creator, your God will never give you anything that makes you feel that uncomfortable. So you can assume that it's not from the creator. And then you can say, I didn't ask for this. Stop showing me this. You are in charge of your physical vessel. Nobody else in charge of your physical vessel. So you have to tell these entities, hey, time's up. Get out of here, bud, because I don't want no parts of this. I've done it a lot of times in my dreams. They're always trying to get me to do stuff, agree to stuff, eat stuff, read stuff. One of the very first dreams I had, it was these three black ladies in like a TV show living room. And the lady said to me, I want you to buy this book. It's $10. And I told her, that is before I knew anything. I said, I don't buy books. I get them for free on the internet. She was so mad. And she was like, okay, I want you to open this book and read it. And I was like, no. So she would read a page to me, and she would say, do you understand that? I said, nope. She'll read another page. You understand that? Nope. Every time she asked, they couldn't get literally, they could not get a word in edgewise. And next thing I knew, the lady who was trying to get me to sign this contract, she was like, oh, I'll be right back. And she got up and she ran out. She hightailed it out of there. And I was like, okay, what's going on? So it was me and another person sitting in a living room. And then the person who had left out, she like, it was like a split screen, and she was talking to the girl who was still sitting there with me, and she was like, yeah, She was calling from jail. She was like, yeah, I won't be back tonight so you can sleep in my bed. And I was like, okay. So I just walked around the house and I started cleaning because I was like, well, if it's dirty in here, let me just do something because y'all got me sitting here. I don't know why I'm here or what you guys are trying to do. And so after a while, my guardian angel came in. She was dressed in like a Wendy's uniform. And she was like, it's storming real bad outside. So I looked out the window and it was raining. And she was like, I'm trying to catch an Uber so I can get to work or something like that. I said, well, why don't you just park on higher ground? Like, you could just move your car. And she was like, can you help me? I was like, yeah. So we walked out and I woke up. But it's only because somebody had to come in and they were trying to, again, imprison me. This stuff happens all the time. Like, it used to. It don't happen too much anymore because I'm not open to that. So you every gift that you have, every spiritual gift that you have is not necessarily one that you are willing to use for them. You're not willing to use any of your spiritual gifts for wickedness. And so you have to, when it don't seem right, that's why it's important to feel. If it doesn't feel right, you got to kick them out. You have to call their bluff because they can't do anything if you don't agree. I just happen to be very strong-willed, so I've just always been able to do that. I actually didn't know people couldn't control their dreams like that until I started talking to people, and they're like, "How did you do that?" I was like, "Well, I just told them no. Like, you're not gonna tell me what to do." I guess it's like having bodily autonomy, and I find that people who have angelic and galactic bloodlines that have a very hard time with bodily autonomy. They have to work much harder than an earthbound person to keep these entities out because you're more open to all the whole universe that's out there. Me, they have to work really, really hard, and they only have a very limited amount of information that they can like use against me because I'm an earthbound being and they don't really understand earth. They understand it enough to take advantage of it, but not enough to actually um really do any damage. Mostly it's us doing the damage to ourselves. So if you just let these things go unchecked, again, you'll be like, okay, what's the point of living? Because everyone dies. Like, that's not true. Adam lived almost 1,000 years. There's absolutely no reason why people can't live almost 1,000 years. You can't live a whole 1,000 years, but you could live 999 years. That's how long Adam lived. It's clearly possible. It's just that we are under way too much stress. Until we decide that we're not going to put up with being under all of this stress and we do something about that, we are, open to dying so young. But once we stop, like we put our foot down and say, no, I'm not going to be stressed out. And you have to make the changes to go along with that, including securing an alternative funding source so that you're not worried about money. You need money. So you can't just be like, oh, I'm just going to go live in the woods somewhere and whatever. That's not solving the problem. You need to live a good life, not just a life. And that's another thing. They get people thinking, oh, I need to move to the desert and sell all my stuff and all of that. No, you got to live a good life. I want to live in the city or near the city. I don't want to live somewhere in the middle of nowhere and I can't get food or contact people, socialize. That's unacceptable. But a lot of people have bought into that. So these people have put up toll booths every step along the way so that when you decide, oh, I don't need this piece of myself that belongs to me that I've been given stewardship over, let me go ahead and give it to someone else, that they can collect it and then they use it against you. So that's another, just to keep an eye out for. But guys, I have to go. um, I have to
Thank
go.
you. Yeah, this was great. Definitely much more to discuss, but thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Chief Sophia, for your time. Thank you, Captain, for coming and
Absolutely.
participating. And look forward to the next one, which will be Tuesday, right? Tuesday?
Yep, Tuesday. And I guess I'll do the thread on how to connect with the earth because that's
Oh,
kind of direction we
yes,
were going anyway. So
for
I'll
sure.
write something up about that for you guys to check out.
Love it. Thank you so much.